Hello, Mugo. How are you doing? I thought I had turned on my mic. Turns out I had not. Um, I'm doing good. So it is Friday. Nothing in particular planned. Just have a conversation. Okay, good to know that you are doing good. Yeah, good to see you. Um, I don't know whether you watch my content often. Seems like you do. Just confirming. I think I've could be likely I've seen this. It's likely I've seen this. Just confirm that you do watch. Yeah, I think you. Yes. Okay. Thank you. Thank you. Let me see what is this. I might be asking the wrong. In fact, you're a top fan. Thank you very much for following what I do. Yeah, I'm trying to figure out if there is a possibility of adding people to the stream. Yeah, hello. That is leg. What is that leg? Leg each time. Karibu sana. No, this is not my first live. I did one last Friday, and I decided I will be doing a live every Friday. I did do other live streams earlier on, like two. I think I did two. In fact, there was a time I did a live with someone. So this is like maybe the fourth that I'm doing. Yeah, so I'm still learning though. There are things that I would like to know how to do. For example, I like to know how to add people to a live stream and they join. I'm trying to figure out how I can do that. If I'm not able to do it today, I'll figure out with time. I'll figure out with time. Yeah, I'll be doing this every Friday. At least I'll try to do it every Friday. Yeah, maybe there will be those Fridays when things don't work out, but generally I'll be trying to be available every Friday to do a live stream. And if you can confirm that my audio is okay, so that I'm not talking to myself, but I guess you can hear me. Yeah, yeah. So trying to figure out how to do that. I don't know how to do that. Share screen. Let me see. Participants. Anyway, I might need to connect with OBS next Friday. I think I did with an OBS one time or twice, and it worked very fine. Okay, thank you, Mugo, for confirming that I'm very loud, or I'm loud and clear. Yes, my camera is not the best. Of course, it's a laptop camera. I decided to use the laptop. Last time I used the phone. The camera is better with the phone, but then it's like I struggle with the phone. I think the laptop is a more comfortable, even though, of course, now there is the issue of the camera is not the best, but it's going to work. You're saying, Mugo, you asked, apart from African history, which other history do you study? Interesting question you are asking. Organic call, I'm doing good. Hello. In fact, if you watch my videos that I did a little bit earlier, the very first videos you can see on this channel, I used to publish videos around, I would say, ancient history. Ancient history intrigues me. Like, I really love ancient Rome history, ancient Greece history, ancient Persian history. The very first videos I published were about stories of speaking from Herodotus. Now, Herodotus is often called the father of history. Herodotus is often described as the father of history, and I read his book, Histories, very, very interesting. I've also read Titus Livia's book, From the Founding of the City. Herodotus is a book that was published, we could say, maybe 2,500 years. I'm just trying to tell you, Mugo, the kind of history that interests me. And then histories, but no, not histories. The founding of the city is like 2,000 years. So if you see my early videos, I was trying to do videos from that, because that's the type of history I enjoy the most to read, actually. Yeah, African history interests me, but ancient history is because I'm always fascinated by societies that existed, say, 2,000 years ago or 2,500 years ago. They fascinate me. And reading that history made me realize that the more things they seem to change, the more they remain the same, actually. Reading Titus Livia's books is a collection of books that covers from the founding of Rome around, could be 900 BCE to the time when Augustus was emperor. Covers a history of close to 700, 800 years. Reading that collections actually made me realize that things don't change. As much as we live in the modern society and we think that now our era is exceptional, every generation actually believe that their era is exceptional, which is not the case. What was happening in ancient Rome, political-wise, the intrigues, the things that were, it's just the things that happen today. Like, not much difference. Maybe add technology here of phone and maybe computers, but besides that, the same humans, the same habits, the same politics, the same way of life, the same case to Herodotus histories. I've read it, very interesting, and I've read other. Yeah. So, anyways, to answer your question, beside African history, ancient history, Greek history, Roman history, Persian history really interests me. So, yeah. Yeah, so that kind of history. I have the thought that civilization are actually aliens. You're saying I have the thought that civilization are actually alien, i.e., either God or other entities teach people about civilization. Yeah, actually, reading some of these old books, I tend to believe the same, actually, that this can be controversial, actually. I tend to believe that, or I believe that to some extent, at least, that humans are, they get knowledge from elsewhere. Um, Humans get knowledge either, like, now how that happens is where I'm not so clear about, but I think humans somehow tap into knowledge from elsewhere. I don't think we are, or maybe we are just like any other species. We just think of ourselves as exceptional, but maybe every other species has a way that it taps into knowledge that is from elsewhere, or there is knowledge that is within us that comes from very far, in terms of space, maybe. Not so sure. But I think there is a lot that we don't know. But I agree with you that I have the same thoughts sometimes that civilizations are, yeah, I wouldn't use the word alien, but they are influenced from elsewhere often. We can say God, yes, we can talk of God as that source of that knowledge. Yeah, we could say God, and God is a very, I think sometimes when we say God, we use the word God, and often we don't mean the same thing. Like, of course, everybody says God, or most people at least, not everybody. Of course, there are people who believe that there is no God, but um, sometimes we don't carefully think, what do we mean by God? And so, yeah, that source of knowledge could be God. Whatever that God is, now that can be debatable depending on who you ask. But yeah, we could say God is the source of that knowledge that civilizations get or humans get. Hello, my Kenya neighbor. Hello, SSM. Good to see you. Happy to see you around. You are Kenya neighbor from where exactly? Are you from which country? Kenya has like several neighbors. So yeah, which country are you from? Mogo, you are saying, yes, people like Isaac Newton, how did they get such scientific knowledge at a very young age? Yeah, yeah, those are, I have my personal opinions about, here is what one thing as I'm growing older, I'm realizing, and it's by observing things around me. Ideas are not created. They are discovered. Um, and the way they are discovered, I think sometimes when we are silent and we listen to the inner selves, which again we can call God, the inner voice, sometimes some people are capable of picking some knowledge that I'm thinking, that's my personal opinion. I'm not saying that's exactly what it is. I've come to conclude that ideas are found, ideas are discovered. There is no idea that is created. And I'm thinking, when we focus on creating, we might struggle a lot. But when we focus on discovering, we might find a lot. You're saying Somali from Ogaden, Western Somalia. Okay, okay. Karibu, as we say here in Kenya, we say karibu, which is welcome. Maybe you know some Swahili, because I've come to realize that there are very many people from the Horn of Africa who speak or understand Swahili. In fact, I was surprised. I was doing some research, and it came to my attention that apparently Siad Barre used to speak very fluent Swahili. That's something that I did not know. So yeah, Swahili is well spoken around East Africa. Yeah, SSM, yes, I'm trying to do a live every Friday. I don't want to make it so like a class, just having conversations like now you are here, we can just chat like that. Just share ideas, like you know something that I don't, I might know something that you don't. Somebody else like Mugo here might know something that we don't, so we can just share those ideas and learn from each other, and that helps. I am from Djiboutian. Friend, oh, that is Bilal. Lisa, you are from Djibouti. Okay. Yeah, Karibu. We say Karibu or welcome. Yeah, Djibouti is one of those countries that I think will be interesting to visit and see. Maybe I have a wrong impression about language barrier, but most likely the fact that you are watching that tells me that maybe I'm just imagining language barrier. Maybe it's a place I can visit and I wouldn't struggle getting my way around. Yeah, so yeah, okay, yeah, yeah, you mostly speak French. Okay, how much is English spoken? Or maybe is, yeah, maybe the first question is how much is English spoken? And number two, are there people there who speak Swahili? Maybe this is one of those questions will be like, it doesn't even apply. And also number three, how many languages are spoken in Djibouti? It is my understanding that Somali, of course, is spoken, but then and then French. Which other languages are spoken, including, of course, those of other peoples, but with significant population, of course. You're saying you can find people who speak English, but they are not that much. Okay. Um, yeah. So um, it is my understanding that while the Somali are the majority in Djibouti, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, there are other groups of people who are found. They, you say we are like three ethnic groups: Afar, Somali, and Yemeni. Uh, no. Yeah, you're saying you can't hear me. I was talking to somebody else. Uh, okay, I knew of Afar and Somali. I didn't realize that the Yemeni was a sizable population in Djibouti. That's news to me. I didn't know that. And I think that's a very interesting aspect of that country that I might want to know what has been the interaction between Djibouti, that land, and the Yemeni people, like throughout time. There must be a history there. Yeah. You're saying you can't hear me. I had muted myself to have a conversation with somebody here. Yeah. Yeah, so generally people speak Afar, Somali, Yemeni, French, maybe some other, and maybe some bit of English. Okay. Um, Now, saying, oh yeah, yeah, of course, in the map, Yemen is like just across the sea, of course, I think. Um, yeah, yeah, see how it is, your neighbor. Um, I think I got lost in I was reading First Steps in East Africa by Richard Barton. It's a book published in 1850s. And in that book, he talks about the British being based in Aden. And then he himself travels from Aden to the Horn of Africa. So I think I got lost because that book kind of like introduced me to that part. But of course, him being a British, anyway, I don't know whether he covered because he traveled through the land. I don't see, maybe, I don't know when the name Djibouti came into being, because that also might help me try to figure out. I don't know whether the name has always been there. Yeah, you are saying East Africa and the Peninsula Arabic have long history. Yeah, that must be. It must be that there has been, because that is very narrow, so there must have been a lot of interactions, a lot of it, a lot of it, and a lot of influence across to and fro, I guess. Yeah, as I was saying, reading Richard Barton's book, he talks about a huge population of Somali people living in Yemen or Aden then, but not that they lived there as the indigenous. Like they used to travel from the Horn of Africa, maybe for business or for job opportunities or for things like that. They go and live in Aden, and then sometimes they come back and go there. Yeah, I saw that in that book a lot, around 1850s, maybe could be 1840s. Yeah, yeah, I agree. Like we had centuries of cultural exchanges, and I guess there's not so much difference in the culture you might find in the two locations, that is Djibouti and Yemen. Yeah, let me see. Let me Google something about that actually. Yeah, Djibouti is one of those countries. To be honest, I would like to visit, to know. Sounds like it is a very interesting, interesting country in the Horn of Africa. Says the relationship between Djibouti to stretch of exactly it's like a border. Agriculture and then became relevant and established. I'm reading somewhere that at some point, close to 45% of Djibouti's city population was of Yemeni origin. Is that true? That's a huge population, actually. That's huge if it's actually true that at some point there was like 45% of the population coming from Yemen. SSM, you're saying I've learned a lot of interesting history about Somali people from your videos. I really appreciate it. Even sometimes I disagree with some of your content. Yeah, I really appreciate that you watch number one. And also very important is that you are a person who can disagree with someone and be very, what is the word? Be very, like, have that mind of soberness that, yeah, I disagree with you on that. This is very rare, actually. Maybe you might not realize it, especially online. Many people don't have that ability of, okay, be like, oh, I agree with you here, 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 but then I disagree with you here, here. That's a very academic mind, and is a kind of mind that can discover things. And of course, I will not say that I will be right throughout. Number one, I might get some things wrong. That's a given. Number two, I also might disagree with you on some things, and then we just disagree. We just agree to disagree, as they say. Somebody told me, oh, there's nothing like agreeing to disagree. There is actually agreeing to disagree on some issues where you will have your own reasons why you think this is like this, and the other person has their own reasons why they think what they think. And of course, there's now that part of, yeah, I might create some content and I think I'm correct, but then I find out later on that my source was actually bogus, or I picked, or I misunderstood the source, or I misunderstood a concept. So I respect, much respect for that, SSM, much respect for that. Bilal Lisa says, we live, love, and laugh together. We respect and love and cherish our differences. Yeah, I think maybe you are talking about the different groups of people in Djibouti, or maybe you are reacting to what I just said. Yeah, whichever, yeah, it's true. If you live, yeah, you sometimes you just recognize that maybe we are different, yes, but we are humans. And yeah, Bilal, no, like you have Somalis and Afar. Like we have Somalis and Afar who are natives in that land, and we have Yemenis who settled there centuries before Djibouti became their home. Okay, okay, okay. Yeah, so I was reading someone saying that at some point there, like 45% of at least the city population is Yemeni or used to be Yemeni. I don't know whether that is the case at the moment. I think the East Africa, even in Kenya, actually, I've found that there are people who don't know this, especially people who've never been to Kenya. I remember I saw somebody, I think he's from West Africa, and he came to Nairobi and he was creating a video, and he saw Indians and he saw Somalis, and he got it very wrong by saying that the Somalis he was seeing, they came to Kenya. And I knew he was in trouble because people quickly were in the comment section. Because, okay, with the Indians, it's a different thing. It's like the Yemenis in Djibouti. It's very clear. Nobody can argue that they did not migrate to Kenya. They migrated, but their families have been here for over 100 years. So there's no way you can call them outsiders. But for the Somalis, he got it very wrong because he thought he went to Isli. If you're not from Kenya, if you've not been to Kenya, Isli is an estate in Nairobi, the capital of Kenya, where the majority of business owners and the people who live there are of the Somali ethnicity. And so there are people who come from outside and they go to Isli. Often they are told, if you want to know Nairobi, sometimes they are recommended that Isli is one of those places that they need to go. And this person, when they was creating videos, and it's like, oh, all these people here, they liked Kenya so much that they moved from Somalia and they came to Kenya. It's one of those misunderstandings, of course, about the population. So if you are not a local, you might get it very wrong. Then some people are telling him, what you don't know is that almost a half of the Kenya, maybe we could say, yeah, almost a half actually of the Kenyan landmass is the land that is occupied by the Somali, not occupied, really, like it's land that is the land of the Somali. Like it's the land where it's their land. It just happened to be in what we call Kenya. Bilal, the Afar group is like the Somalis. They are between three countries, Ethiopia, Eritrea, and Djibouti. And they are natives to the land, but the colonizers divided their land between the three countries. Oh, okay. I didn't know that the Afar are also found in, I knew there was likely they are found in Ethiopia. I did not know about Eritrea. That's new information to me. Thank you for that. I did not know about that. I would be interested to know how big is the population of the Afar. And then you say Gila or FEMA, wondering did Ethiopia got the weapons to defend against the Italians, and how did they expand from just Amhara to include the other Cushitic lands like Oromia, Somali, and Afar? This is a very good question, actually, and I think I've done a video about this. I think I did a video. I was reading, which book was I reading? I think I was reading some document. And this issue came up actually of where did Abyssinia get the weapons. Now, Abyssinia got its weapons from Europe, actually. But how is a very interesting, not exactly the how, but the entire thing is very, is not controversial, is confusing, because different European powers, or the European powers of the 19th century, were competing to sell weapons to the Abyssinia. Now, one power that is clearly helped Abyssinia get weapons is Russia. Actually, is Russia. And the reason why Russia, the British did sell them some weapons. The French, I think, these others did sell them weapons here and there. But the power that actually sold them the weapons that they relied on for the most part was Russia. And the reason Russia sold them the weapons was because of the brotherhood of being the Orthodox church believers. That because I saw a place where could be Menelik, who sent a delegation to Russia, to could be Tsar Nicholas, who was then the king of Russia, sending him a letter and just trying to build that relationship. And the Russians felt or found it easy to help the Ethiopians or the Abyssinians just because of the church thing. So they got the majority of their weapons, especially the weapons they used against the Italians. They got them from Russia, actually. And the Russians gave them or sold them the weapons because of that thing of sharing the church, the Orthodox. The Russians who used to be, or even now they are still of the Orthodox belief of the Christian faith. And you're saying, wondering how they expanded. Now, of course, with this can be very controversial, and you know this is not an easy topic to go through. You know that with, of course, the core of the Abyssinia was the Amhara, the Tigray, those people. But with their connections through the church to, say, Russia and some other Eastern Europe, and even in the Europe was found it easy to deal with Abyssinia because it was Christian, of course, but of course it wasn't Christian, the entire of it, but you get the point. So because of that, it did get some support actually from the likes of Portugal and Russia, yeah, and the rest. Okay, I did not answer the last part of Gilo Ofima's question. Of course, with the access to weapons, it was easy to expand. It was easier to expand. They had an upper hand against the other commonwealths around, like Oromia and Somali and Afar regions. It was easy because they had an upper hand. They had the weapons. Random Thoughts, enjoying your channel, brother. Thank you very much. Hi, Barry, local budgeter. That's what you call yourself. I really appreciate it. Really, really appreciate that. You watch my content, and yeah, it helps that to know that there are people who actually find the content interesting. No, it is fake information. We have Yemeni community, but not half of the population are Yemenis. Oh, okay. So you are saying, okay, for those who are joining, I had read a part where I saw that they were saying that half of the city population in Yemen used to be, or maybe 45% used to be of Yemenis. But Bilal, Lisa, you are saying, no, that's not true. Maybe you can give me a rough estimate of what you think will be the population of Yemenis, especially in the city, not the entire country, just the city. SSM, in your opinion, in your opinion, do you think history is repeating itself considering what is going on in the world, especially in our neck of the woods? I don't know what you mean by our neck of the woods. You might clarify that, SSM. But history repeats itself a lot. Actually, I was thinking about this, especially here is what becomes where we are always lost. The problem, especially for Africans, where we are lost sometimes is we don't understand, we don't try to understand history, very long history in the long term. So something happens today in 2026, for example, and because we don't know what happened in 1926 or in 1826, we think it's new. We think it's new. But actually, history, let me give you a good example of history that I thought about today that is likely repeating itself. It's about, and I've done videos, maybe you watch the videos I've done. I've done several videos about how the British managed to bring the different groups of people in East Africa under their rule. And that came from the book I'm reading by someone called C.W. Hobley, who used to be a British commissioner in what we know today as Kenya. It wasn't called Kenya then, it was called the East Africa Protectorate. And he explains, and it's very interesting that he put is very clear on the strategies they were using to break the different African societies. For example, he talks of Buganda Kingdom, which is very interesting. And they went to Buganda and they realized that they needed to break down that kingdom. But they were trying to look at the section they could use. There was no section. Now, he talks specifically of using sections in society to break the society. So in Buganda, they decided to create a new section. And that section was the section of Christians. There were no Christians in Buganda up until 19th century. Bugandans had their own traditional belief system, and some of them were Muslims to some extent. So they create this new section, and then they use that section to break down the kingdom. Now, when the king of Buganda realizes what was happening, it was too late for him, because even some of the people he would rely on were already Christians, and their allegiance was not to the king, but to the missionaries, and that's how they broke that. Now, the same strategy was used among the Kikuyu. The same strategy was used among the different groups. The Nandi, they used a different strategy that he describes. He describes a completely different strategy for the Nandi. And they used a different strategy for the Maasai. For the Maasai, they went to the leader and they somehow got to charm him into being their friend. And because of that, he decided to work with them. And because of that, the entire community followed them. Now, come to the Somalis, and that's what I did videos today. And while I was doing those videos, I was thinking, wait a minute, it's like history is repeating itself. The Italians used the different sultanates that were not friendly to one another. In particular, the Hobyo Sultanate and the Majarten Sultanate. They were not in very good terms. At least their leaders were not. And they used that as an opportunity where they went to the Majarten Sultan, Mahmud, and they told him, we can give you support. And then Mahmud is thinking, if they give me support, at least that is going to help me check. He's called Kenidad. What is his name? Yusuf somebody who was the Sultan of the Hobyo. And so he accepts to sign a treaty with them. They go to the Sultan of Hobyo, they present it in such a way that it seems they are going to support him against Mahmud, because now they play into the fear of the Sultan of Hobyo, his fear of Mahmud, and they use the fear Mahmud had of the Sultan of Hobyo to make him sign. And the Sultan of Hobyo is also fearing the other guy, he signs. So what happens? They end up getting these people signing the treaties, and they allow the Italians to become their colony. The same thing happens in what was called the British Somaliland. They go to this, but it's a little bit different. And I'm answering your question of whether history is repeating itself. They use the fear of the different groups there, of the Abyssinians, to make them sign. Now, come to today. Today, as we are speaking, there are different groups of people in Somalia who distrust, and we can even say dislike, the other groups. And so what happens? Somebody sitting somewhere, could be New York, could be London, wherever, and they are looking at the land of the Somali, and they are like, during that time in the 18th century when Richard Burton comes to the Horn of Africa, they were looking at the potential of the port of Berbera and the amount of goods that pass by and things like that. Today, there are things that people are looking, and they are like, there is potential of oil in the Horn of Africa. Maybe you've heard about those stories. There is potential of huge deposits of oil and other minerals. So what do we do to access that? We are going to use the distrust that exists between the different groups of people to have them sign treaties. We are likely to sign new treaties. Now, I did talk about something that is happening in Kenya right now. They call it the carbon credits. And some Western companies are coming and telling, for example, they have gone to the land of the Maasais, telling them the carbon credit, you are going to get this much, and they are making them sign up to 99 years, up to 100 years contracts that they are giving up their land. And during that time, they are being controlled on how many animals they can keep per acre, how they are going to use their land. So basically, it's the same thing that happened. Yeah, so I agree with you. History can repeat itself. Gila of Firma, thank you very much. Thank you very much for that. You are saying, you are saying, I mean, East Africa and Red Sea and the Horn of Africa. Yeah, if you mean that history will repeat itself, definitely it's repeating itself. You're saying, I feel like Ethiopia behaved like colonizers because they received support and conquered lands. In contrast, many tribes in Kenya found themselves under the British rule due to colonialism. Am I right? Yeah, you are very right, because it can be controversial to make some of these statements, but facts are facts. Historical facts are historical facts. Ethiopia is not just like any other African state, at least historically. Okay, today is just like any other African state, but historically speaking, it is not, especially considering that most African countries today were created during colonial time. They did not exist. There was no Kenya before 1890s. There was no Uganda before 1890s. There was no Tanzania before 1890s. Most of these countries, and we can talk of the larger part of Africa, they were created during colonial times. But Abyssinia has the claim of having been there before, that is Ethiopia now. And so besides having been there, even though they did not directly participate in the Berlin Conference, they at least got considerations. They were considered as almost equal partners, maybe not so much, but almost equal partners by the European, such that when the British were signing an agreement with them, they treated them like almost equals. And somehow they were negotiating, oh, we are getting this much of this land and you are going to keep this much. Yeah, to some extent we could say they were, they acted, you use the right words, they behaved like, yeah, I think that's the right word. They behaved like colonizers during that time, that they managed to, or they were able to negotiate with the colonizers of the other parts of Africa. Yeah, the other people did not get that. Like, it's very, for example, a good example is, it's not even Kenya, it's Buganda, the kingdom of Buganda. They could have easily gotten the same deal. Maybe we can say their leaders were not smart. That's an argument we can make. We can say the leaders of Buganda were not very smart, and so they lost out on an opportunity to negotiate with the British like the Abyssinians did. But maybe what worked against the Uganda is that maybe they were not Christians. And in the 19th century, that was very important, actually. That was very important. So the Europeans saw the Abyssinians different from how they saw the Buganda, or they saw the kingdom of Urundi, which is the kingdom that is Rwanda and Burundi today. There were two kingdoms there, actually. They saw them different. Lisa, you are saying in Ethiopia you have 80 or over distinct ethnics who have their own language, culture, identity. The Emperor Selassie indeed had the mindset of the colonizer. I think it's more than 80, if I'm not wrong. I think there are more than 80 communities in Ethiopia. It's not 80, it's a lot more than. Could be 100 or even 200. Let me confirm that. How many? And I'm going to use the word tribe, but I don't like using the word tribe because tribe is one of those words that the colonizers were using to demean the African Commonwealth or nations. In Ethiopia, let's see how many. Let's see how many. It's not giving me the exact number. Give me total number. Okay, you are right. You are right, actually. You are right. It's about 80 to 86. You are right. You are right. You have your numbers right. You have your numbers right. You are right. It's about 80 something. It's about 80 to 86. Yeah, they have 80. Bilal, Lisa, you are right. They have over 80 or about 80 to 86 distinct groups. They have their own culture, of course, language, identity. Yeah, so those were brought under the rule of the Abyssinia. I think the point you are trying to make is that those people were brought under the rule of the emperor through force. Yeah, of course. Yeah, I don't think there's anybody who can argue against that. I don't think there's anybody who will be like, no, they were not brought under the rule of the emperor. And I don't think it's even Emperor Selassie. It starts with Emperor Menelik. I think the biggest number of the groups that are under are Ethiopia now. I think the largest were brought under the rule of the Abyssinians during Emperor Menelik, if I'm not wrong. If I'm not wrong, that's the time they were brought under that. Hi, Barry, local Baja. I hope I'm getting your username right. You are saying, did you read Lieutenant C.J. Grutandent work? No, I've not read that one. I'm even copying it right now. Copying it and putting it in my list. Give me a moment. I'm going to add it to my list so that I don't forget. I'll put it to my list. Yeah, I'll be interested. I'll look at it definitely. This seems like this seems like a document I want to read. I don't even know what's about. You can let me know in a summary what it's about. You can let me know what's about. Or do I have it in my list? Let me check. Maybe I already have it in my list. Let me see. There's a possibility that I already have it in my list. Let me see. Thompson, Yusuf, video shake. Alice, Margaret Lawrence, Isabel Barton, Richard Corfield, General Hanley, Life and Death Amongst by General Hanley. I don't think I have it. Let me see. Hollis. Let me see. Because the name sounds familiar, that's why I'm trying to confirm if I have it or I don't. Or the title, not the name. The title sounds familiar, actually. Let me see. I don't think I have it. No, I don't have it. So let me add it here. Let me add it. I have added it to my list. I'll read it. Definitely, I'll have to check it. Thank you with that. Hi, Barry, local badger. Let me even copy your username so that when I read it, and I might mention you, even though now that's not your name. But anyways, let me put suggested by Hi Barry, local badger 8130. I'll definitely have a look. More 77217 is a national hero in you're saying, please can you do a video on Somali Bantu Sultan Nasib Bundo? He was assassinated by the Italians. Now, this is a very interesting topic, actually. I already like it. I'll also add it in my list of ideas. To research. I already like it that Sultan Nasib Bundo. The story sounds interesting already. He's a national hero in southern Somalia. I'll definitely look. I've taken the note from that. Hi Barry, local badger. You say, bro, trying reading memoir on Western or Edor tribes inhabiting the Somali coast of Northeast with the southern branches of family of Belarud, resident on the banks of Webe Shebeli. That book is by who? Reading memoir on the Western. Who wrote that? Who wrote that? Writing memoir on Western. Memoir on. Can you give me the name of that? Let me see. Is the memoir on Western or Edor tribes the title? Confirm. confirm whether that is the title. Let me see if you've added. Hi, Alanda. You are saying my real name is Mohammed. Yes, Mohammed. Can you confirm what you are saying about them? Is that the title? Or just give me the title, a full title, the way it is, so that I can easily find it. Tell Akli Mal, tell us when Ethiopia Emperor sent delegates to Berlin conference when Ethiopians planning to. Yeah, I think I've seen. Yeah, I think Akli Mal is bringing up something I think I was talking about a little bit earlier. There is, I think they were not officially. I might have to confirm this. I think I've seen somewhere that there were people who were sent to, maybe they were not official delegates. Okay, let me not commit on this one, but I think I've seen something like that. Like there were people from Ethiopia or Abyssinia who went to the conference, but they were not official delegates, something of sorts. But I will have to, let me write this somewhere so that I don't forget. It's also a very interesting thing to look at. Let me look at that. I'll put it there. I'll check. Akli Mal, I'll check that. Let me not say, but I think I've seen something like that somewhere. But I'll check. Earliest British record talking about Somaliland. The earliest I've read. Okay, you are saying that is the earliest. Okay. Mohammed, I still need the title itself. You're saying is the earliest British talking about Somaliland, or are you talking about the other one you gave me, General Lieutenant C? I think you are talking about General C.J. Grutenden. I think that's what you are talking about, if I'm not wrong. And then thank you, love brother. Thank you, Mo 77217. Gilofina, you retracted a message. I guess you want to reframe it. The same. Oh, you're saying it's the same guy who wrote. The same guy mentioned wrote that Grudenden. I'll check that guy. I'll check him out. Mohammed Abdullahi, please do a video on Kenyan Somalis. I've not done a video on Kenyan. I've not. I agree. I've not. I think somebody suggested a book. Somebody suggested a book. There's a book somebody suggested, and it's about the northern part of Kenya. I'll go through my list, but for sure, somebody suggested a book. I'm trying to look at my list. That one I remember, somebody suggests a book, and I did write it down, and it's a book about the northern frontier. Is it called the northern frontier? That's what they used to call it. The part we know today is northeastern Kenya. They used to call it the northern frontier, if I'm not wrong. Somebody suggested, I have a book that is on my list that I need to go and read. Yeah, considering you've pointed out, I need to read that book because I've not done any book that is specifically about the Kenyan Somalis. Yeah, you saw it. You say that is the title. Okay, thank you. I'll check that. Let me copy it. Let me make sure I copied it properly. Let me make sure I copy that comment. Let me copy it properly. Copying it. Post it here. There is such a chief. No, that one. Let me see. Yeah, let me put it here. Yeah, copied that, saved it in my list. Um, yeah, you say do. Yeah, that's Mohammed Abdullah. I say there is a book that somebody suggested about Kenyan Somalis. I'm going to look for that and put it as one of my next books I'll read, next titles. Okay, thank you, Aklimal. Okay, thank you. Yeah, you're welcome. Mose, Rayu Kambani. Yeah, I know people want to know where I come from. The reason I don't like saying it because I realized when you say that, it creates what's the word? It kind of like creates impressions, and so people start consuming your content with that backdrop of, oh, he's from here, so I'm going to. I hope you understand. I hope you understand. Just know that I'm a Kenyan. Yeah, Kenyan living in Nairobi. Lived in Nairobi for close to 20 years. I might tell you where I was born. I brought up in Narok. That's where I call my home. That's the much I can tell you. If you know Kenya, you know where Narok is. So it's far. I'm not Mukamba, if that's what you wanted me to confirm. Narok is my home. So, but again, don't be so sure because it's Narok, then it means this or that. But yeah, Narok is my home. Come to Bilal, Lisa. Ethiopia wasn't invaded for a lot of reasons, but because they were a great diplomat, wasn't one of them, even though this was a factor in making the settlers understand they were more beneficial. Let me read that again. Ethiopia wasn't invaded for a lot of reasons, but because they were great diplomat, wasn't one of them, even though this was a factor in making settlers understand that they were more beneficial. Yeah, I'm not getting your comment clearly, Bilal, Lisa, but if I'm wrong, you can correct me. I think you are saying that Ethiopia was not invaded or colonized because they had great diplomats. Yeah, somehow they were able to make the Europeans see them as beneficial to them. I think that's what you are trying to say, which I agree. Actually agree that, yeah, diplomacy did play some role. Diplomacy, yeah, they managed to, and I think it started with the Portuguese. And if you've read a few of the old, and I think I did some videos from Futu Alabasha. It's a book that was written a while back. I think it's 14th century. And it's a book that covers the conflict between Abyssinia and the Adal Sultanate. Yeah, if you read that book, you realize that they did, the Abyssinian monarchy did have very good diplomatic relationships with Europeans. And I guess that's what you are saying. Gilo or Firma, you are saying Africa gained political independence but was not truly liberated. The Pan-African movement aimed to give Africa control over their resources, yet much of Africa where remains. Yeah, Africa is not independent. I agree with you 100%. It's not. It's not. Our leaders are still picked for us. Anybody who becomes, either if you don't play ball by the former colonizers who still control the continent very much. The French still control West Africa so much. There are few people like Abraham Traore trying to break away, but there is a history, for example, of Burkina Faso. There was somebody called Thomas Sankara. Thomas Sankara, people say that Abraham Traore is a reincarnation of Thomas Sankara, of course, politically speaking, because he stands for what Thomas Sankara stood for. And he played very cool, and the person he's fought completely to remove, we can say the person he's taken power from was some person who eliminated Thomas Sankara. That's Blaise Compaoré. But the point is, Thomas Sankara was eliminated because he was not playing ball with the French. He was trying to make Burkina Faso completely independent. Abraham Traore is trying that. He has a lot of enemies. I don't know whether he's going to succeed. We can pray for him and wish him the best. In DRC Congo, Patrice Lumumba was killed because he was not playing ball. They removed him. In Uganda, Tanzania, even Kenya, most of these countries, like for somebody to survive as a leader, they have to play ball. If they don't, they are, of course, they used to like assassinate. But now it's not even assassination. Now there's something even more nefarious, I can say, that is happening. Now they will use your own people to remove you. Gaddafi was removed by his own people, allegedly, or it seemed like, but no, it's not your people, but it seems like it's your people. So they will be like, oh, it's your people who want you out. Nobody wants you out. And then when they see that your people are not successful in the revolution, they will send help to help you, to stop you from killing your people. Yeah, so the most nefarious that's happening right now, the method is they don't even now just assassinate any leader who seem like they are trying to break away from the colonial hold that is in existence today. The structure is still there. What they will do, they will use your people. And if they see that your people are not successful, they activate the second level. They send them, the army, in to stop you from killing your people. That is the story. And it's working, actually. So yes, I agree. Africa is not independent yet. As somebody wrote a book called Not Yet Uhuru in Kenya. There is a book by that title, which means not yet independence. Like independence has not yet come in Africa, even though we are independent. That's the title of the book, Not Yet Uhuru. It was written by Raila Odinga's father, actually. If you are Kenyan, you know who Raila Odinga is, and you might even, if you are not Kenyan, you might also know who he is. You say, yeah, of course, the wealth part, yeah, it's about oil, minerals, and all this, and then it will be camouflaged in human rights and democracy and those beautiful words, you know them. Through capitalism and unequal contracts, leaders who resisted often face sanctions or removal. Yes, the sanctions is a good tool, very effective, being used often. For example, Kenyan tea is sold well, but most profits go abroad, or local farmers remain poor. Yes, and that's a good arrangement for those companies in the West. So if somebody comes today and start asking those questions, being like, oh, why is this arrangement in place? Why are our farmers being basically slaves? Farmers are slaves without the master being feasible. Of course, that person will be in trouble. That person will be in trouble. And if they ask so many questions, you will see protests and uprising, and then revolution, and then, yeah, you will be removed. You will be removed before you know it. You're saying, but it was a factor in making the settlers understand that they were more beneficial for them if they guaranteed their sovereignty. Yeah, of course, it's always the calculation of the billion. Lisa, I think you are talking about Abyssinia. Yeah, it's even now, it's about a country that is supported so much. Often is because there is a way it's going to benefit Western companies and corporate entities and mining companies, mining magnates. If you support those companies, then you'll be so praised as a leader in the Western capitals. Everybody will be saying you are the most democratic. You you observe human rights and all those good words, but try to change those contracts, and then everybody will be like, you are the most evil human being to live. You are saying, hi Barry, so you are saying PDF is available on JSTOR, the Royal Geographic. Okay, I'll check that out. Most likely, if it's an old document, there's also a likelihood I can find it in archive.org. I'll check. I'll try to find that. Thank you, Mohammed. Love you very much. Thank you, Mo 77270. Thank you very much. I love watching your videos. Hope you continue great work you are doing much. Yeah, I'll continue doing it. Continue trying to find those documents and try to find content. Can someone write the name of the author of that book? Can someone write the name of the author of that book? Which book are you asking? Faye 8912. Which book are you asking? Or are you asking about the book that Hi Barry Local Budget Mohammed is talking about? Is that what you're asking? Egima, we need a video of Berlin meetings. Very good idea, Ugly Mal. We need video of Berlin meetings and how with you. Not only but I think I'm going to try to find the documents. How about that? Very interesting. Very good idea, actually. Let me put that down. How about looking for the actual documents that were generated from that meeting? Maybe they exist, actually. Maybe. And if we can't find them online, how about if somebody is in those Western capitals? Because I'm going to create a video and request, actually. Because there are people from East Africa who maybe they are in those cities where they might walk into those archives and try to find those documents. How about that? I think that's more useful. I'll create a video, try to find the documents from the Berlin conference. If they are not found on, say, archive.org, I'll make a request that if there is somebody who is, for example, maybe London, and I know there are people who watch me and they're in London or somewhere. I think most likely those documents can be found in the archives in Europe, most likely, and maybe they are public. Maybe they have been made available for the public. So we try to do that. You are welcome, brother. You are doing good. Thank you. I think I have to go. Akli Mal, always ask my fellow Kenyans, Mzanzu aliacha Kenya kwa mikono ya PMCO na president. Hii president ya Kenya ndo tumejitengenezea. Yeah, Agmi Mal, I think you are Kenyan. It's working in progress. We might not be so. Yeah, we might think we know what's going on. We don't know. It's work in progress. Yeah, I have to go. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Bilal, Lisa. Thank you, Akli Mal. Thank you, Mo 77217. Thank you, Hi Barry, Local Baja, Mohammed. Thank you very much for you give me with a new title, and also I want to thank again Akli Mal. He's given me some ideas, I think, that are so great ideas that I'm going to follow up. Thank you, Gila of FEMA. Hope you're still around. Maybe you've left. Thank you for the tip that you sent. Thank you. Who else? And everybody else, actually, especially these people. You've been with me. It's a small audience, but it doesn't matter really, as long as we get to share great ideas. That's what matters most. And I know there are people who are going to watch later. Thank you, SSM. Maybe if you're still around, thank you very much for that. Is SSMT9P. Thank you very much. Yeah, thank you everyone who joined. Wakianda, thank you very much. Very good information. Thank you. Yeah, thank you everyone. I need to go. I have to go now. Let's meet again on Friday and have this conversation. I really enjoyed this, and I've picked a few very interesting ideas and also some books to chase and try to see. And also that idea of trying to find, I'm going to work on that idea of trying to find, if we can find the documents that were generated from the Berlin conference. I'm going to do that this evening or tomorrow fasting. Thank you, everyone. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you. Be blessed. Be blessed.